Just over 9 minutes to play. You blinked, it was tied. We were in OT. You saw one of the craziest two-point conversions you'll ever see. And then a decision at the end to win it all. Eric Sobert off the IR and into action. Hauls it in. Seattle to 12-3. Here to break it down, the two-time Super Bowl champ Bryant McFadden, Emery Hunt in studio. And guys, I want to work backwards. And there was a clear turning point in this football game. Sam Darnold throws an interception around the 10-minute mark, down by 16. The gamer's written. We're getting ready to have the conversation, and that feels like years ago, Emery. You get 2 touchdowns and the 2-point conversion in a 3-minute span. Just like that, we're tied at 30. You've never seen a 2-point conversion like that. How do you process from 10 minutes till final horn?
It's funny because it always ties back to the little things, right? They had the turnover. They were up 30-14, but in that sequence, they had 3 straight 3-and-outs. Mm-hmm. So you gave them the chance to come back in that ball game multiple times over. One score, and you probably put the Seahawks away. But because you went 3-and-out 3 straight times, including right after that turnover, it really gave them life to, hey, we can find our way back in that ballgame. And then the other part of the turning point in this game for the Seahawks was a Rashid Shaheed punt return touchdown. And then on the next drive, he had a 31-yard run that got them in scoring range again. So because they couldn't score one more point or one more time with those 3 straight possessions, the Seahawks were able to find these sea legs and got the points needed to win.
Yeah, for me, that was the biggest issue for the Rams squandering away this ball game. The big plays, the splash plays they allowed. Early in the ball game in the first half, it was a Kenneth Walker with 40-plus yard reception that led to the first touchdown. And then later in that game, Kenneth Walker, a 50-plus yard touchdown run. And then you talked about Emery. The defining play was the Rashid Shaheed punt return. And special teams has been the Achilles heel for the Los Angeles Rams the entire season. I go back to earlier in the year on the road against the Philadelphia Eagles. 2 clearly makeable field goals where one was blocked, one was missed. In tonight's matchup, even with everything Seattle did to get back into this ball game, outside of your special teams allowing that punt return, you had an opportunity to seal the deal potentially with in this day and age, a makeable field goal. If you haven't been watching the NFL this season, anything 40 or longer is almost a guarantee with these kickers that we have watched in the NFL. But you can't say the same for the Los Angeles Rams. This game was a mirroring image of what we saw in the first meeting. Remember, it was 4 turnovers for Seattle, and they almost won that ball game. They were a hair short. They had the same turnover issue surface this game, but guess what? The hair was long enough to win.
There were a number of moments that add up to this final score of 38-37, overtime winner for Seattle. But the 1 seed, when we look back, could come down to 2 two-point conversions, one that we've never seen before, a lateral pass off the helmet of an edge rusher that's innocuously recovered unknowingly out of this game. He plays a great 10 minutes plus here down the stretch, but did he do enough in your eyes to eschew those worries that we carried for the 50 minutes prior?
No, those concerns will always be there because he's been a little more inconsistent throughout his professional career than what we've seen in terms of consistency. But one thing I will say to Sam Darnold, if I had a hat on, I'd tip it to him. Man, he has a short-term memory of a seal. I'm talking about being battle tested. It's looking like nothing can go your way and still fighting to get your guys back into this ball game. I mean, that was amazing. I mean, you threw 2 costly interceptions. You threw one to a nose guard, a nose tackle in the red zone. And somehow, some way, you forgot about all of those mishaps that you created. Remember, in 2 games, he's thrown 6 interceptions against the Los Angeles Rams. But in the fourth quarter, after that punt return happened, he was like, you know what? I still got a shot. I can correct all of my wrongs today, and he was able to do so. So, yeah, to answer your question, those concerns will always be with Sam Darnold, even if he played a better ball game. If he played a better ball game, you guys know what's up. If we had a conversation about quarterbacks who you trust in the playoffs, we all would say, well, we still have our reservations about Sam Darnold. That's not going anywhere. But tonight, in the midst of all the chaos that was surrounding him, he somehow, some way gathered himself, breathed, exhaled in and out, made the necessary plays, and that 2-point conversion, the second one, the execution, the entire drive was flawless.
And Emery, it reminds me of 2 weeks ago against Atlanta, slow to start in that game, and it's Rashid Shaheed offering a spark in the third phase, and then really the snowball rolled downhill from there, so different in those senses. But this is a team that's getting it done on all phases of football. Where do you land on Darnold after this 60-plus?
You still can't trust in the situations. How can he handle the significant pressure that he'll see in the postseason? When we did the pregame breakdown of these interceptions that he threw, we talked about bad footwork. We talked about not understanding down and distance. We talked about forced throws, and we talked about being able to drop his eyes and focus on the pressure. The 2 interceptions he threw today were basically predetermined decisions. So we're seeing...
It's a beautiful sentence. This game contained multitudes, and it was a blast to watch from start to finish. Maybe we don't have all of our questions answered, but what we do know is that this is a team now with the inside track to the 1 seed, the bye, and making it go through there in front of the 12s, who really had their presence felt down the stretch in this one as well. Other side, Emery, try making sense of this box score. How does a team where Matthew Stafford throws for 457 yards, 3 touchdowns, no interceptions, Puka Nacua 12 for 225 and 2 touchdowns, not win a football game?
Well, because Sean McVay decided to not ride the hot hand. Now, he had it down pat with both Matt Stafford and Puka Nacua, but why were you constantly forcing Blake Corum into a game where Kyron Williams, I thought, had the hot hand and was doing a great job filling the run game? He started off hot in this ball game, and then when it came down to the stretch, and you talk about in the fourth quarter and in overtime, some of the big mishaps on offense came with Blake Corum carrying the football. And to me, even the drop pass that we thought was an interception by the Seattle Seahawks caromed off of Corum's hands and would have been a big-time turnover for Seattle in overtime. So I thought that's the one whiff, and other guys decided to leave their game at home. Kobe Parkinson, who we talked about a lot in the pregame, that was really balling, dropped a lot of passes. And also the discipline of the Rams was they had 8 penalties in this ball game. Seattle had 5. And despite all of the turnovers, those 5 penalties, they stayed disciplined and made those plays. So the Rams really start to unravel outside of Puka Nacua and Matthew Stafford. And once Kevin Dotson got injured, therein lies the issue that they had up front with protecting Stafford, and he got those ribs warmed up in the process.
Yeah, Stafford joins Brady and Rodgers as the only players with 3 seasons of 40-plus passing touchdowns in this game. It comes at a loss, along with all these other distinctions and stats. It's the most most receiving yards by any player in a game this season by Puka Nacua, the 225, and the most by a Ram since 1997 when Isaac Bruce went for 230-something. Mac, it feels odd to ask in a loss here, but stat stuffer type night for those two. They don't give it out after 16 weeks, but do you feel like we're getting some clarity on the MVP and Offensive Player of the Year trophies after